Okay. Well, welcome everyone to, wow, is it week 10 of Rapid 37 Tuesday? Time flies. And you guys even got, well, I don't know if it was a week off last week. We didn't get a week off, due to boot camp, and hopefully many of you were at boot camp. Oh, look, there's Mark. Hey, Mark.
Hello.
Welcome.
I saw most of them at boot camp.
Well, go ahead, and I hadn't started the wins yet, so I'll let you take that.
Okay, cool. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to week 10 out of 12, 3 to go. This one and 2 more. Rapid implementation 37. And as always, we're going to start with some wins. So who had some wins? Oh, Jay's got a win.
I don't know if it's a win as much as I'm starting to figure this out. I'm really nailing down the website. I'm hoping to get it live here pretty quick. I know most everybody's already past that, but I feel like I'm starting to pull it together and it's starting to kind of work. So
cool.
Win for me anyway.
That's good. You can teach me next because I have no idea how this stuff works. Anybody else with some wins?
We finally got our website live last week, so that was a pretty big win because we had to separate the invoice system away from our domain to the Robinize. So I think that was pretty good. I'm glad to have that done.
Cool. Well done. Kelly, you had a win.
Yeah, I won a book. Done for you service.
Cool.
Cool. And well, I mean, we got the site launched and we've added a lot more content, and we're ready to now do some more of the campaigns after the session you did. I think it was Friday before the event.
Yeah, it was Friday before the event.
Finally
the
found
call
a
recording's
printer.
up there in that, and I'm going to add everybody. Hopefully, sometime today, I will be adding everybody to that so they can go back and watch it as well.
It was super beneficial. It helped a lot.
Good. I'm really glad it did. Anybody else with some wins?
Does starting to work through Infusionsoft count as a win?
Does in Jeanette's book.
I was going to say my win for this week is that I signed up for Infusionsoft.
Yeah. Better late than never, Brian, but there we go.
I had to try to do it my own way. It's just how I am.
Working
Yeah,
out the aspirin campaign.
Cool. Excellent. So, yeah, I have to thank Ryan. Ryan helped me with an Infusionsoft accelerators sale to another CMIT member because he'd called her and said, you've got to get Matt with this as well because I didn't do it till later on and I regret having to wait.
Well, you're welcome. And I think I saw the check come in, that commissions check come in over the weekend. So
yeah,
thank you.
It'll come from Debbie. Okay.
Yep.
We've been having 2 little projects on our current clients. So right now we have a managed firewall for our urgent care. And we sent out a shock and awe last Friday, I'm excited. I know it's not gonna, the meeting didn't go that well, but at least people are still out there.
Cool. Shock and awe boxes going out. Huh? Now I'm getting excited.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting excited.
The meeting didn't go like how we expected, but I guess I was excited because I'm like, at least there's still.
We can salvage them. We can salvage them. They haven't said no yet, have they?
No, they haven't said no. I just, it was confusing because we don't know what route they want yet. So.
Did you set another meeting?
That was the thing. We didn't schedule it, and I think that's where we kind of messed
Yeah.
up.
Never, ever, ever leave a meeting without scheduling the follow-up meeting in their calendar, date and time in the calendar. Yeah. I have a story to tell you about that, but that'll be another day.
Okay.
I still managed. I was in a hotel meeting with the managers and that of the hotel, and we had an active shooter in the hotel, and then we had SWAT in the hotel taking him out, and I still managed to book a follow-up appointment before I left with them. So if I can do it in there, you can do it at any other time.
Yeah.
But we actually just hired somebody who's going to be doing our phone calls for us. Phone call follow. We've been doing our own after campaigns, our own follow-up. So now we just hired somebody to handle that portion for us.
Cool.
So,
Excellent.
Yeah,
Get
we're
more
trying to find
results.
somebody. I think we've gone through 300 resumes, about 295 of which were horrible. And we had a couple people that we did phone interviews, and we sent out the, I can't think what it is, but it's the list of all your previous jobs and bosses and all that stuff. And
Yeah,
we
the threat of reference check, they call that in top grading.
Yep, and we've gotten nobody that sent one of those back yet, so we still are looking.
I was always of the, when I started doing my hiring and using top grading, I switched my mindset to, I'm not trying to find the most perfect person out there. I'm trying to find the best person or the first person that comes along that fulfills all the needs of that role. Yeah. And so I then start filtering a lot quicker. So if when somebody applied with their resume, I would, within the hour, and it was automated, I would send them the 4 questions from top grading, the initial filtering questions of some of those things, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would your last 5 bosses rate you, etc. And if they didn't get a reply within 24 hours, they were off my list because you didn't need that job. Yeah. Because don't forget, when you're hiring, when you're interviewing somebody, that is them at their very, very best with you. After that, it's going downhill because you'll give them the job and it will slowly, you know, they'll never be as good as when they're trying to convince you to hire them. You know, so if they can't even be bothered to respond within 24 hours, then they're not for me and my company because, you know, we work like technology marketing toolkit at 500 miles an hour and we don't go any slower than that. So you've got to be able to keep up. So if they're not doing that, so just get, you know, especially, I hate to say, you know, but with before COVID, it was an employees market. Now it's back to being an employers market. So you get to pick and choose who you want. There's plenty out there for you to get the right one for your needs.
Yeah, I think we got 130 resumes to go through this morning. So, and 100 of them will be barely related to the job offer, if at all.
Yeah, and again, that's my filtering. If I open up that resume and I don't even like the look of it or the layout, I don't even bother to read it. Yeah, yep. Because there's so many other, and I just want to move on. Yeah. Any others wins?
So Mark, it's not quite a win yet. Well, it's a win in my eyes. I'm going to be pitching a proposal for a holistic healthcare provider for some services on Friday. So looking forward to that. Yeah.
Awesome. Have you sent the shock and awe?
No, I have not.
Have you sent the online shock and awe?
Nope. I haven't really.
Guess what you're doing before end of day today, Eric?
Okay.
It'll take you about an hour at the most. If it's your first one, if you haven't even set anything up before, it's not going to take you that long. Okay. So get an online shock and awe. It'll make a huge difference. Yeah.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Any other wins? Okay. Let's move on. Oh, did I miss somebody?
Sorry, last call. I'm slow. Just 2,000 in new MRC or MRR for managed services.
Awesome.
Thank
well
you.
Done. Okay, let me get on to sharing. Sharing is caring. So we have our 90-day contest deadline. I told you it was going to sneak up fast because now it's May the 22nd, Friday, May the 22nd at 5 p.m. on the dot Central Time. As you know, we can't take it anything past that date. And we do have people that send it in later. You know, then, and they're disallowed. So please make sure that you do get it in before Friday, May the 22nd. And by my calculations, that is 2 weeks on Friday, isn't it, Debbie? So sneaks up quick. Huh? I did tell you last time, the week before boot camp, not to ease up just because we weren't having the calls, because we need to get these things going. It sounds like lots of people have been, because I'm going to see some some things here about checking off websites. You see, I've got websites being checked off. I've got phones answering live going well. DD, Jesse, still need yours. Phones answering live or checked off. A few people down here. Jeff and Joe, come on, you're a phone company. You should be, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong column there. I was looking at the prospecting campaign. I'll take it back. Sorry, guys. I was going to say you should be answering your phones live as a telecom company, but there you go. Shock and awe boxes or the online shock and awe. So Eric, when you get it out this afternoon, come back in and check this off, okay? We need to get those done. Prospecting campaign. So here's the thing you can do, excuse me. Here's the thing you can do with the prospecting campaign. You can temporarily, if you want to, with all this COVID-19, especially people up in that sort of northeastern area where it's still, you know, pretty bad up there. You can change it to do a 10-minute Zoom assessment instead of the 60-minute network assessment, okay? So you can still use the aspirin campaign or the COVID-19 worry doll campaign, but get them on a call with you, and that way you can steer the conversation. You know, how are you getting on with the remote access? Oh, you've got it all set up? Great. Or you don't have it set up? Let me help you out with that one. You've got it set up, but how's the security? Okay, it's doing good, or let me help you with that. What are you planning on doing when things start easing up, or what are your current struggles at the moment with working from home? And just steer that conversation, that 10-minute call, to get them onto another, you know, a follow-up path with you of one thing or another. So you can change that for the short term through this COVID-19 crisis, but start doing the prospecting campaign. Implementation marketing checklist. Make sure that you get that done before the end. I'd rather you get the Robin Eyes website live and then come back and do the rest of the checklist, because it's not crucial to getting your website live as much as getting your website live is to do the marketing with the aspirin, etc. Monthly newsletter and tech tip postcard. I should see a lot of these done. I'm looking at Kelly now. Let's see, checked it off. See, after my session the other day, I will, like I said, I did the implementation where we got your monthly, we got your newsletter done, we got your tech tip postcard done, and we got your online drip campaigns all done. And then once you've gone through my stuff, you'd have to then go through Jeanette's Monday afternoon training, where she shows you how to do it in the rest of it and get it all set up in Infusionsoft. So funnily enough, we planned that to flow on nicely from one to the other. So please go back and do it once I give you the access, and you'll get an email later today or tomorrow to watch my session recordings and all the resources. And then you can go through and watch Jeanette's one, which means every single person here will have these checked off by next week, because we did it in 2 hours on the call. Okay, so everybody will have it, these 2 things checked off by next week. 12-month marketing plan we're going to do today. No, 12-month marketing plan we did last week. Not last week, the week before. Doesn't time fly when you're having fun? 12-month marketing plan we did the week before, so we should all have that checked off. So I'm expecting that. Quarterly marketing plan is your homework for this week to be talked about next week. And you definitely should have this done ages ago. The referral rewards program, you should have this done. We're in the middle of a COVID-19 crisis, and everybody's looking to change their computer guy because they've been let down, and referrals are awesome for that. So please double down your efforts on those ones as well. Okay. Any questions? Any problems? Anything? We're all good. We're all going to get it done in time.
I got a question.
Ellie.
Sorry. I think you've already answered it before, but I can't recall. I've gone, well, it'd be equivalent of statewide, but province-wide for the verticals that we're after, or the at least 2 verticals right now to compile our list.
Mm-hmm.
But as I start adding, you know, once I go through all those as the 25, that'll be a month. Now I'm on month 2. Do I pick another vertical, or just to keep expanding across Canada?
In terms of the vertical, you could do, but that seems there wasn't very many in the first place.
No, 157, 58. But then once you cut out the 100 shop owned by one person kind of thing, like, or not by an entity across the province, the country, then you're really cutting it down even further. So I did the 2 that we're already pretty proficient in, which was property management and the funeral home. And I can probably add a few more property managers. But short of that, I'm either going to have to expand to CPA again, or start looking into other provinces. It's not like I can't do it remotely. Almost everything we do is proven out.
I would expand to other provinces for now.
Okay.
Okay. And do that remote stuff, yeah. Because you've got the same message while you're still building all this up. You want to keep that one target market type message, yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions on the 90-day checklist? We all good? We're all going to get it done. Everybody nod their heads, yes. Cool. Okay, so today's call, we got buried all the way down. We did the 12-month marketing plan, and we are doing the soup to nuts marketing wall, soup to nuts marketing wall today. And what that is, we've given you all these different campaigns. We've given you the, you know, the tech tip postcard, the print newsletter, the cybersecurity tips, the aspirin campaign or the COVID-19 campaign, but you don't really have all the dots joined yet either of how to take a prospect from very first getting that prospect through to then becoming a client. So that's the journey we're going to take you on today, which is where we get the soups to nuts from. And then the marketing wall comes in because I am going to stop sharing and hand over to Rich, the inventor of the marketing wall, which also won him a car. So, Rich, I'm going to hand over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, Mark. And I think Sevilla may have seen this at Marketing Managers Training last year. So hopefully you'll see something new this time. Yeah, so again, thanks. And so my wife asked me this morning, what week is this? I think she was trying to remind me of something. And I said, it's the week after boot camp. And it's strange when you think about it, because at least the TMT staff, we mark time right now based on boot camp, because about 6 weeks ago, it's 6 weeks to boot camp. It's 5 weeks to boot camp. Now it's the week after boot camp. So I hope all of you had a really stellar experience after you got logged in at boot camp. And the information at boot camp will still be up for another 3 months. Debbie's in the process of transferring it over to the dashboard, but we'll leave the platform up there for at least 3 months. So yeah, what I want to talk to you today about is what's commonly been referred to as the marketing wall. And I'm just going to start a slideshow here. Can you all see that? Somebody give me a head.
Hang on, I don't know that you've got the permission. Hang on.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I got it. Here we go.
There you go.
All right, so.
That's your email. Now I can see it.
There we go.
All right, good. Well, I changed the monitors around for the week of boot camp, and so I'm back to sync now. So a number of years ago, after we had won the car, I did a presentation at Marketing Managers Training when Robin had Marketing Managers Training, I think in 2011, 12, 13, and 14 on the marketing wall. And I revised it slightly and brought it to Marketing Manager Certification Training last year. So basically, this is what happened. And it's kind of a story. I have a great picture of a wall, but it started with a problem. You know, they always said that necessity is the mother of invention. Well, I used to think that mother was a necessity of invention sometimes. And I discovered that growing up with two teenage boys as well. So the problem was in July 2011, I became full-time marketing director at Easy Solution. And Easy Solution was a company that at about that time, we were probably somewhere in the $2.5 million sales range. When we started with Robin in 2009 or 2010, we had 0 MRR. MRR ended up at about 225,000 when I left 5 years ago to join Robin. So we really used what Robin taught us. But the problem was I became full-time marketing director after being there as a year as general manager of the service department. We decided to enter the Better Your Best contest at Boot Camp 2012. Now that was in April, and I became marketing director in July 2011. The problem was how to get everything organized and get a presentation ready and continue doing the marketing. So I had 4 goals. One was to find a way to manage all the things we had underway now that I could give my full-time attention to it, achieve our marketing plan for the year and compete in and win Better Your Best contest, and then enter that year, 2012, with a comprehensive marketing plan all in place, ready to go. So several things happened. I think the first thing is I went to Bob. This is a big ass whiteboard. And I put on there a list of everything we were spending money on for marketing. And now I mean everything. That included salaries, that included yellow pages, that included would include any kind of advertising you were doing, any kind of printing you had done, any kind of campaigns that you were doing. So I made a list of all the marketing spend. Oh, yeah, that's right. I did not include salaries because Robin recommends you keep salaries out of your marketing, your marketing budget, so you can compare apples to apples. It didn't also include the TMT fees. But everything else went in there. So I sort of sorted that list. I categorized it. I created tags, and I took little pieces of, I cut up colored file folders basically into label size pieces and put on mailing labels. And so when I say tags here, Jeanette, this is non-Infusionsoft. I was a tag pioneer back in 2011. Creating all these tags. So from that, I made a list, and then I tried to organize it. And I had all this stuff, and it was just, you know, it was just all over the place. I couldn't quite get my head around it. And I've discovered over the years, one of the things that happens to me, and I think happens to you when you think about it, is if you leave a problem alone for a while, your brain will keep working on it, and at some point something will happen, and boom, you get it. Well, that happened to me. I got it. And it just sort of appeared like it came on the horizon. It was really a spreadsheet on steroids, I would call it, but it was on a cork wall. And that's what it looked like. In fact, that's Tim Shea, one of our friends who has a business in Boston, and he stopped by and wanted to pose in front of the marketing wall. Well, this was a later iteration of the marketing wall. But you see, I had basically large categories. I had lots of tags underneath. I had assignments for people to work on. And the tags that I developed were dynamic. These are things that change on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. Well, actually, yeah, daily, weekly, and monthly. You know, if you have to do posting, if you have to do, if you have to buy something that has to be constantly renewed. And then I had a category called static. And these are the things that don't change dynamically, not every day, every week, every month, but maybe once a year. You know, like membership in TMT. Maybe there's a contract you need to renew, a piece of software you need to buy. Then I had a category called in development, things that we were working on but we had not completed. A category of ideas, and then a category of things we discarded. And we kept discarded up there because it's always good to remind yourself when you threw something away. And I eventually added some categories here as well to it. But the basic categories look something like this. You know, you had the dynamic daily, weekly, monthly things. We were doing weekly video tips. We had a Facebook page. We had a monthly staff meeting where we talked about marketing. You know, we had the bad date letter. We discarded some things like advertising with a Comcast. We set aside the tech shock and awe for a brief period of time. Didn't really discard it, just set it to the side because we were doing a web shock and awe at that point, Yellow Pages. And then there were some things that we did maybe once a year that we kept track of, things we need to look at. Then they had a category of things that were completed, and they came from over on the right there. Either the staff developed them or Tom and I developed them, and we executed on them. And then once they were completed, if we didn't need to go back to them on a yearly or a monthly, weekly basis, they just stayed in the completed. And then, of course, we had a bucket for ideas. Lots and lots of things there. And when you look this over, you see this is kind of dated because there are some things on there that happened and people don't use anymore in the past. But we had the 4 goals: find a way to manage the things we had underway and launch the things we wanted to do. Achieve a marketing plan for the year, compete in and win better your best, which we did, and enter 2012 with a complete comprehensive plan for marketing. And there was a bonus. In fact, this was a real bonus. We became very nimble because Tom and I could manage in minutes. And my confession is I've been in business development for a long time, but I have a really short fuse for long meetings. And Robin uses the example, and I've been in those kinds of meetings where the major agenda item was setting a date for the next meeting or deciding what color the logo was going to be. But here we could stand in front of the marketing wall, we could be accountable, discuss issues, optimize our time, and assign responsibility. And it kept things TOMA, top of mind awareness. And, we sort of said if our goal is top of mind awareness in the minds of our customers, then we better find a way to be TOMA for our own marketing, have top of mind awareness for our own marketing. And the other goal, the bonus, was communications. It was daily communications about marketing. Now we call that the huddle. We have our own huddle at 9:13 every morning, which we all look forward to. And, when you're working with someone, if you're the marketing manager, you have a critical relationship with a person you're working for. And my little success formula in here for marketing managers is if you work to make the person who you work for successful, and if you work to make the person who works for you successful, you don't have to worry about your own success. And I was glad to hear Marcus Lemonis emphasize that on his talk the other day. And then there was an unintended consequence. The staff liked the marketing wall. You know, they would pop in the morning or pop in over lunch or over break. It became a tour stop on office tours, because one of the things we discovered is the more clients, the more prospects that you could get into the office when you were doing a proposal, the higher your percentage rate of closing went. And it was good for the staff to see, because it gave them a quick buy-in, you know, as to what we were doing. So I believe that's it. I will stop my share, and we'll take questions. I know that was quick, but the idea is, I often get the question, well, won't a spreadsheet work? Well, yes, a spreadsheet would work, but if you have something visual on your wall reminding you all the time of what you're doing, what you're trying to do, it's really a big help. Now you could use a small whiteboard, you know, to do it as well. I used a cork board that was about 9 feet wide and 8 feet tall, just because we had a lot of stuff going on. So that's, in a nutshell, the story behind the marketing wall. So questions, comments?
Did you do this full time? Or for me, it's kind of hard to understand this. For marketing, if you're like a one-man shop, how much to be successful, how much time do you put in it?
Well, that's a really good question. You have to be able to do your essential marketing, and I'm sure Mark's talked to you about that, which is your newsletter, your e-newsletter, your tech tips, your cybersecurity tips, and your campaigns and follow-ups. Those are the essential marketing pieces you need, and those were all there. Everything else you can add on is to a benefit. And don't think of it in terms of, oh my gosh, there's all this stuff to do. Think of it in terms, well, there's all this stuff to get started, and then I'm just the guy or the gal who is keeping the plate spinning. And that's why that whole thing of something that's dynamic, something you may only have to touch 5 minutes a month or 5 minutes a week, becomes important. Don't let the idea that I've got to get all this stuff working right away. To be honest, when we started, the very first thing we did was the book. We did the book, and then we just built on it after that. Well, once you've done the book is done. The only thing you might have to do on a yearly basis is go count the inventory and get extra copies printed.
Yeah, so it's just because in the beginning it can get overwhelming and it kind of shuts you down.
Mm-hmm. That's why the marketing wall, I think, is very important. You take that one piece, you get it up there, it's done, then you bring the next piece up. And it's I'm a very visual person, and I think that visual reminder really helps you understand. Even if it's nothing, my wall next to me now, I have like a 3x5 whiteboard of things. So you could do it on the computer, and a lot of people do. The problem is that this gets lost with other things on your computer. And working at home now makes it more difficult, too.
I was going to say, it does. But one of the ways that I used to have around it, Rich, when I had the office, was we had a webcam permanently pointing at the marketing wall, so we could always see it when we remoted in. And did it that way. So that is one way around that. I personally, like Rich, and I'm a big software developer and write software for everything, but we still work off physical things. Like our Scrum board is still physical, just like the marketing board. And you move Post-it notes along through different swim lanes as you're moving along for those things. I don't think you can see something clearly when it's electronic as you can, as a physical thing. Like Rich says, his was 9 by 8. You couldn't see something like that if you did it in spreadsheets, because it'd be multiple tabs and you wouldn't get the overall picture of that. Hey, Rich, I'm just doing some flashbacks for you there. Look.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Still have them, not signed. I must get them signed one day, but I still have them.
And I guess the point is, and thank you for reminding me, Savella, that you start with something and you just keep building onto it.
Yeah, it's just like we've done with the checklist here. We just added one thing, yeah, and you put them. You know, Rich had it's back to Scrum and that again. Rich had it in the to do side of things, or in development, and in Scrum we have it on the backlog, and then we move it into the to do, and then somebody picks it up and it moves into in progress, and it just works through that, you know, that way. But one thing at a time. Do one thing and do it really well, and you'll get it quicker than trying to do 3 things at the same time. And I can prove all sorts of things about multitasking. You can't be done by the human brain. So just do one thing at a time and add to it and just keep layering.
Thanks.
Any more questions?
I've also talked to like other techs, and what I've noticed that with my husband too, that they want everything so perfected, like they want it just done a certain way. And
they're techs. They're techs.
They're techs. Tell them to.
Sorry, guys. And that was like hard for me. Now that I get to talk to other techs, I just tell them, you know what, you just do it how it is. Don't wait. But I think that's a big problem because they just want it so perfect.
Well, I use a cooking analogy for that. I've told people, well, you know, the chili is great. It's really good on the second day. It's even better on the second day. But you know what? It's really good on the first day.
Fast, not perfect, is what we say. Fast, not perfect. You've got to get it. Otherwise, you'll be there forever. Yeah. You'll never get your website launched. You'll never get anything done because you want to check and double check and triple check. And then, I'll just make this change and then go back all the check. And you can go on forever and ever because what they're trying to do is trying to be the best because they love what they do. But at the end of the day, you've got to draw a line somewhere because that last 5% or 10% can stretch out to 90% of the duration if you let them get on. Yeah. So don't let them do that.
And Debbie made a really good point that perfection is another form of procrastination.
Well, it's funny, Sylvia, when I speak with members and they're having a hard time because they're the techs, engineers, you know, the owners, and getting things done. And I say, I'm married to a former software engineer, and unfortunately he passed down that whole perfectionism thing to one of our kids. Now the kid got past it, but you know, the head going against the wall when the kid was 10 years old was, you know, because he wasn't getting everything right, is not good. So, and everyone says, how do you know that that's how I am? It's like, you're an engineer. That's part of your DNA. So, work in progress, Sylvia.
Yeah, it's been tough on my end because he Army 8 years and now a tech, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
My wife will sympathize with you there, Sylvia.
Hey, Mark.
Gotta meet her.
Yes, sir.
One of the things in our accelerator group they talked about that they had us watch a webinar and was about this is do B- work, not A. Because if you do A work all the time, you never get anything done. I was thinking the same thing. I felt like I can't do anything because I got to have it right. Then realizing it's better to have something out there and working on it than nothing at all. So
yeah. You can always come back and finish, make those extra changes, but only if you've got time. Yeah. So it's better to get it all out there as is and get things working and get stuff coming in, and then you can delegate it to somebody to improve upon it. But I mean, I had the person on a few Rapids ago, all the way through Rapid, and they were struggling, and they weren't doing any marketing. They weren't doing the aspirin campaign. And when I asked why they weren't doing the aspirin campaign, it's because the website wasn't live. And why the website wasn't live, they were waiting for professional headshots to be taken. That was the only thing holding them. So they missed out on like 8 weeks of marketing where they could have had clients giving them, 2,000-3,000 in MRR a month because they were waiting on professional headshots. And how many of you have bought services because they had a professional headshot, or didn't buy something because they didn't have a professional headshot on the site? Yes, it's nice to have, but you don't not have any website at all and do nothing just because you didn't have professional headshots done. They can come back later and fill those in. Yeah.
My headshots on my website right now were taken in my sister's kitchen with a flashlight for lighting.
Well, maybe they won't buy a few then, Brian. Who knows?
You don't even see the background. It's all cropped out.
Also, I'll mention one thing a sales trainer told me years ago, and he was like, when you go in, even if you don't have it all nailed down, going through the stages, right, with the conversation, what you do is going to be tons better than others, and they're not going to know, oh, you missed out on that, right? You didn't do that, Jay or Sylvia. They don't know, So you beat yourself up over it, but don't do that.
No. Any more questions on the marketing wall?
Debbie,
So
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Rich.
I was just going to check. Debbie, you have these posted. I don't have any changes to them. So.
Oh, yes, I did post it already, Rich. Hope.
Yep, it was all posted. So as you build these oil wells, that's where they're going on the marketing wall, okay? In your dynamics or your statics and in development and ideas, etc. So start building those things up. The next thing we're going to talk about, as I said, was the soup to nuts part of it all, which is what to do once you get a contact, okay? So you've had this contact. This is your sales funnel that we're going to be talking about here, how we take all these people from all these different oil wells and come in. This needs to be documented, okay? This needs to be documented and possibly flow charted as well. But people will come in. So the first thing you need to figure out is all the different ways that you can get a contact. I mean, you can buy a list. You could get it from a JV. You could meet somebody in the airport or a restaurant. They give you their business card. You go to trade shows. Yeah, all these different ways that you can get somebody's name who's a suspect at that time. Now, depending on how you got them and any type of conversation you had with them, then they go into the funnel at different places and so have different outcomes or different initial outreaches. Okay, so you need to document, you need to think about all those, and you need to document it. Yeah. A referral goes into a totally different place than a contact that you got from Reference USA. Yeah. So you've got to think about all those different things and document this process that you're going to get to. Now, at some point, they'll all come into a common process, but initially they're coming into this flow from lots of different places, all these different individual hoppers that you have, which are your different oil wells, where they'll flow into one sort of pipeline after that. Right? So just taking a prospect that you've come across, say, from Reference USA or something like that, okay? So the first thing we told you to do is you've got to scrub them and qualify them as best as you can online, okay? Next thing they get is the weekly prospecting campaign, Okay, that's the first thing they should get from you is the weekly prospecting campaign. So your aspirin campaign or whatever you're doing, the COVID-19 worry doll at the moment, that should be the first thing that you do. Okay. The next thing that they get then is, if you've got permission to email them, is the cybersecurity tips. Okay. The weekly cybersecurity tips, if you've got permission to email them. Then they go on to your drip marketing. So every month they get your tech tip postcard, and they get in your email newsletter, and they are getting your your tech tip postcard and your email newsletter if you've got permission to email them. And certain ones, if you remember from the print newsletter tab, there was certain key people, influencers or Dream 100 people, they would also get your print newsletter. Okay, not every prospect gets your print newsletter. They can do if you can, you know, you've got the budget and the resources to do it, but not everybody needs to get that print newsletter. So they're doing those. Then you want to start thinking about increasing, as you saw below the line in the 12-month marketing plan, some of your extra oil wells. So if you're doing webinars or seminars, they need to be invited to those as well. Okay. Any of those type of things that you're doing, invite them to those things. And you can do seminars, for example, if you pick 6 topics like cybersecurity, dark web, cloud computing, VoIP and BDR and managed services, for example, you can repeat those webinars every 6 months. You know, this month I'm doing that one, then that one, then that one, then that one, and then repeat, because you've always got new people coming into your funnel. So you don't have to come up with a new webinar every time. And you can, you know, using the Infusionsoft side of things and the evergreen webinars, you can use some of those as well. So don't forget you've got all those different avenues to bring in new people. Then after 3 months after they had the aspirin campaign from you, or that weekly prospecting campaign, it's time for their next quarterly campaign. Okay, that could be the Godfather. It could be the Sitting Duck. It could be the Stupid Irresponsible. It could be could be a VoIP campaign, could be a BDR campaign, but it would be a campaign that you would choose, so they get a quarterly campaign off you. Some of those people, again, are your Dream 100, so they would get more of a Dream 100, like the poker chip campaign, etc., from those guys, from you, instead of the quarterly campaign. They're still, that same month, they are still going to get their tech tip postcard and their emails and the email newsletter from you as well. Okay, they get that every single month. And then 3 months later again, so 6 months after the initial aspirin, you could probably send them the aspirin campaign again, but you can send them a quarterly marketing campaign every time, a quarterly direct mail campaign every single quarter to those people, but you can repeat the aspirin, say, every 6 months. Yeah. And they keep doing that until they respond to you in some way or another, okay? And they become that lead. So the very first thing they get then is your shock and awe box, Eric, or your online shock and awe, preferably both, okay? But doing that. So the online shock and awe at the moment, shock and awe box, when you've got that going as well, make sure that you set that appointment. Make sure that you call them the day before the appointment, to have somebody call them and make sure that everybody, all the decision makers, are going to be there, because you're wasting your time if not. If the decision makers can't all be there and they need them all to make that decision, then postpone it, okay? But make sure they're all there. Remind them to go through the items in the shock and awe box before you get there, before the meeting, etc. And you'll answer all the questions there. That way that you know that they're going to be there when you turn up, and they're going to be 100% ready for you, and you're prepared as well. So you've got everything you need. If not, postpone the meeting, but set a new date and time, okay? Then you're going to go in and you're going to do your prep work and all that sort of things. And before you leave, you're going to set another appointment to come back and present your findings. And when you come back to that one, you're either giving them the proposal or you're setting another meeting to close them. Always keep setting meetings before you leave that one meeting. And I mean, in their calendar, and been accepted by them. Not, I'll call you sometime next Wednesday, or let's get together next week. It's Thursday, 2 p.m. till 3:15, or whatever you need. Okay, so that's what you do. You keep every month, once they got that initial aspirin campaign from you, that initial weekly prospecting campaign, after that, they're in your drip marketing, they come into your events, and every quarter they get another campaign from you until they buy. Yeah, till they buy or they go out of business. Yeah, or they threaten you with something to take them off their list and never darken their doorstep again. Even if they're okay, you never know when they're going to be let down and they're going to reach out to somebody. So you need to keep doing that quarterly marketing and just keep doing those things over and over consistently. You know, as I said before on the drip marketing, has to go out the same day every month, that newsletter, email, same time, same day every month. Yeah, get all those things done and you will be growing the business. So you need to document that flow. Yeah, when you get them from a JV partner, when they come from a referral, when somebody gives you their business card, when they come from a trade show for whatever reason. And when you go to a trade show, you want to be planning. You know, I see lots of people go to trade shows and networking events, and I go, you know, so what's your goal from it? And they go, well, I'm just going to go and meet people and network and chat. And you got to have a very specific goal. I want this many business cards. I want this many warm leads, this many sort of colder leads. I want this many sales. When we go to a trade show, what we pay for, you know, like DattoCon or something like that, or the Channel Pro, we have to hit very specific numbers. Otherwise, we can't go there next year. Yeah, we need a return of an investment from that show straight away, and then later on. Now, other people have different formulas. You know, I speak with ID Agent, and the way their stuff works is they get lots of people interested at the show, but they tend to close them about 10 days later. Not necessarily, you know, they don't close everybody at the show that they talk to, but they close a vast majority within the next 10 days. So they have their ROI spread over a longer period. We have our ROI for on the day, on the floor at the show. So you need to think about those things when you're going to do these shows. Don't just go because they're a networking event. Come back with a specific amount of leads and possible sales and things like that, because it's your time you're investing. It may be a free event or you can wander around, but it's your time where you could be going on other sales appointments. These are sales appointments. So how many sales are you going to do during that sales appointment? Any questions?
Yeah, Mark, there's questions in the chat.
Okay.
Thanks, starting with, well, not start with, let's see.
Is this listed somewhere or is this recorded
Kelly,
so I can catch my notes up? Well, we're recording this one, Kelly, so so hopefully that answers the question. Is there a sample example flowchart? No, Greg, there isn't. And that's because everybody has different sort of needs and requirements. So what I would do, first of all, to start off with, I would just make a list of every different way you can come in contact with somebody and get their name. Yeah. And then once you've done that, you will be able to take each one at a time, make them a header in a Word document, and say, these are the things that they're going to get from me. Yeah. Because if somebody gave me their business card, I am not going to send them the aspirin campaign. I am going to send them my print newsletter. I am going to get permission to send them my cybersecurity tips. I am going to, you know, reach out and try and get an appointment with them. But the other thing as well, which is why I have webinars on the go all the time. I'm going to turn around to that person and say, hey, I've got a webinar next week or in 2 weeks' time on this, which I think you'd be really interested in. I'd love for you to be my VIP guest. Let me get you registered. Okay, so now they're coming in that way. So I got very specific things. When somebody comes in from a point in time, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah. And so that's what Jeanette was also showing you last week when we did the drip marketing implementation. She was showing you how to set up a campaign to automatically add people to the drip marketing. As soon as they finish the aspirin campaign, they'd automatically get added to the drip marketing and added to the next round of things. So that's what you need to do, though. You need to document everything that you're going to do with each type of person. Yeah. If you go to a trade show, for example, there's the people at that trade show, just like boot camp. There's some of you just went into the booth, or you know, in a physical event, you drop your card into the bowl to be in the draw for the Yeti cooler or whatever, the $500 gift card. Those are leads, but they're very cold leads, because really they were just after the $500, you know, the prize in there. They weren't really interested. Now, if I had a conversation with them about our products for, say, 10 minutes or so, they're a warmer lead than the people who just dropped it in. Yeah. And I might have had a really good conversation, and they're even, you know, and even set an appointment to call them and do a one-on-one the following week. So they're even a hotter set of leads. So they go in 3 different buckets. They go through 3 different funnels in my system as what they're going to happen next and where they fit into that whole sales funnel. So document, and again, fast, not perfect. Don't sit there for 3 days thinking, you know, if I left anyone off. Get all the ones you can think of now, and then you can keep adding to that list as you think of more later, but build those different flows and funnels. Sylvia, you got a question?
Yes, so we're working on the flow, which is the aspirin and everything. And how long do you keep going until you realize something's not working?
So you go in with the aspirin and you're not getting any results, or go in with okay, so that really depends on the numbers, and book a one-on-one with me, and I can help you with that. A couple of things I would like, if you've got them, is your couple of call recordings from your outbound calls. Because
my overall question is, okay, so you're doing the aspirin, and then after 6 months you send them the aspirin again, and then you send them the aspirin. Until what point do you switch it up?
No, I said they send them the aspirin. 3 months later, they get a different campaign, like the quarterly, like the sitting duck or bad date or some of those, you're stupid irresponsible. Then you can do another quarterly campaign, could be a different one, or could be the aspirin again. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got it.
So I like doing the aspirin every 6 months, yeah, with a different one in between. But then I'm only maybe doing aspirin, stupid irresponsible, aspirin, cybersecurity or dark web, aspirin, stupid irresponsible. I'm only doing 2 or 3 campaigns for them the whole time, yeah, on the hot topics at the time. So I don't have to have all these different landing pages and my telemarketers doing different things. They're all trying to do the same thing each time, getting the network assessment, just a slightly different letter that we're trying to do on that. But you know, in Technology Marketing Toolkit, we just do, it takes us 6 months to get through our list, yeah? So we only do a campaign, a direct mail, every 6 months, but we only do the Godfather campaign. That's all you get. You don't get any other campaign from us, just the Godfather, until you buy.
And is that because you found that one works best, or is that what you like?
It's because it's a bit of both, because we stuck to it. It has some good results, but you fine tuning. If you're only doing one campaign and your telemarketers are only selling one thing and talking about one thing, then you just get to feedback every single week. You're bound to get better at it. Yeah, you're bound to, because you're overcoming. As long as you're doing debriefs and having meetings and training every week where you say, hey, I had this objection before, never had it before, how should we overcome it in future? In advance of it happening, so you get feeding back to get better and better and better at it and fine tune it. Yeah.
Okay.
But it also depends on the numbers. If you've only sent like 300, don't forget the maths is, you know, is critical. So only 1% respond. So if you've only sent 300 over, you know, over a quarter, then 1% of that is 3. Yeah, and only 50% of those will set the appointment. Well, that's 1.5 people. Let's say 2 people set the appointment, and a 20% close rate, say in the beginning, is half a client.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So to get one, you work the math backwards. If you need 1 client, yeah, you need to go on 5 appointments, which means 10 leads, which means 1,000 you need to send. Yeah. And if you're just doing emails where they've got something like a 0.04%, then you're up to the few 100,000 that you need to send to get a client. Yeah, which is why email is not so good.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? I know.
I got one.
Yes, sir.
Any advice? We have our first list that we got scrubbed as a done for you service. Probably got about 250 in there that are going to be appropriate for us to reach out to. And there was probably 50 in there that they just couldn't find enough information on, or maybe they're closed or whatever. So any advice on picking our first 25 to send to? And also, should we go ahead and put the ones in there that we're never going to call, just so that they're in the list and we realize that if they show up again, we don't need to reach out to them again or scrub it or whatever? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes. So there's a couple of things in there. So those 50 that you're not sure about, you could send them something like a tech tip postcard with a real stamp on it.
Okay.
Because that way, if it's all wrong, it will still come back to you. If you use bulk mailing as you normally would, it doesn't get returned. But at least these would get returned, so you'd have an idea that these are probably getting there. The other, any 25. I mean, you're going to go through them all, so nobody knows. You can't tell in a spreadsheet which one's going to be better than the other. You'll never know. So just work through, just make sure you've got a process rather than picking random 25 each time, as long as you've got a way of checking them to go through. What was that last part of the question again?
Well, the 50 that we're not sure about, do we actually put those into Infusionsoft so that we can avoid them?
Well, I wouldn't avoid them. I do that tech tip postcard. I would just mark them as not validated. Okay, you can have have some sort of customer type in there as not validated. Now, the second half of that question is, as you go through this process, anybody that is not a fit or is out of business or any of those things, don't delete those people. Okay, still have them in Infusionsoft in a different bucket, because if you delete some, if I asked you to take me off your list, okay, and you honored that, but you deleted me, and then you go and get another list from a JV partner later on, I'm back on the list. Whereas if you just mark me as do not market to them, or not a fit or whatever you want to call it, when they bring that list in, it's not going to change that status. So they still won't get marketed to, and they won't be mad with you. Yeah.
Understood. Okay.
But those are the ones that they need, not validated. So you got to find somebody to go and validate them. Yeah.
Understood.
And you can have your assistant doing something like making a call or whatever on that.
Well, that's what the people at the Done For You in the Done For You list scrubbing department did ostensibly. And so, like I said, there was about 50 of them that they just couldn't get any more information on. So they marked all those red, and basically their feeling on it is that these are just bad leads.
Yeah, I would import them separately and see what you can do about them, or at least they'd be in your system but not marketable. Yeah.
Understood.
But then try and send the tech tip postcard, see what happens.
Okay. Do you guys? One other question. Do you guys? I'm kind of pulling all this together, and I'm saying, okay. Everybody's going to get the weekly prospecting campaign, our 25 that we pick, and everybody's going to get the tech tip postcards and all that. Is there some place where there's like a clear list of this category of suspect or prospect or whatever should get these 3 things. And once they once they go into this category, that they get this extra thing. I'm going to create a spreadsheet with all that in it if it doesn't exist already. Just as a reference. Does anything like that exist?
Mark, isn't that in the yearly marketing plan? The things above the line, it says off to the right where those
Yes.
Okay. Things should be sent, when they should be sent.
Yeah, about the 4th or 5th column is who should send to, and then the next one is the frequency of it.
Okay. Awesome.
So everything is in all that information's in that 12-month custom marketing plan, including all the way over on the right, we have the dashboard links and where applicable, the Infusionsoft links to those particular campaigns and that as well. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
But we do tell you the type of client type of person that should be receiving this and the frequency that you should be sending it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? We all good?
Yeah, something quick. I know this is probably further down the marketing, but I'm single, like Sylvia. So I think that she said she was a singlepreneur. So I'm getting to these appointments, and we're getting ready to close these deals, but they're not liking the fact there's just one of me. Even though if I kind of bend the truth and say there's 2, that's still not enough. How do I get past that point? I'm getting these appointments. They're just not sure that, oh, this guy's just not, I mean, I don't know what they're looking for. A group of 10. What is it that can I do to sort of outsource? Yeah, I see that, Brian. But
no, you can do that, but that's not what they're asking you. That's not what their concern is. Their concern is that you won't be able to get there when they need you, when they have an emergency.
Right.
So now you've got to spin that. This is where you're so have you been sending your shock and awe?
No, I have not.
And have you got testimonials to say how great your service is and how fast you respond? And
I do.
Which goes in your shock and awe, which is why we send the shock and awe, because it overcomes that would never be raised, because they're going to read those testimonials,
right? And
you're going to talk about your guaranteed response time and all the rest of the staff as part of your presentation.
Right.
It's all about overcoming those objections before they're raised. Yeah. If you and you're controlling that sales thing, so that every time you do this, you've got to go back and debrief. Okay, what objections were raised that I didn't handle? How am I going to overcome them in future? Another testimonial, one of these, 2 of those, SLAs, guaranteed, whatever it is, 2 or 3 things, and then we send that in advance, because the minute you and I are talking, and I'm your prospect, and and you're talking, and I raise something negative, I've now got control of that conversation, and I've got that negative thought. Whereas you could bring up that same thing, the objection, but in a positive overcome type manner, and we're still all on the positive, and you're still in control of the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, this particular case where they're getting rid of their in-house IT and they're going to outsource to IT vendor, and I think that I think they're going to find the guy didn't have enough to do. There was only 22 people there, so I think they were really worried over nothing.
Yeah, you've got a couple of things there. First of all, you can say that you belong to an organization, that you can have help if you ever, that you can call on emergency help, because I'm sure every single one of these guys here would jump in and remote in and help you, if you put the call out that you needed it. So you can do that. That's not telling a lie. You're going to say, look, I've got a guaranteed response time. I've got these testimonials that say how great we are at doing all this, and I'm giving you the personal touch. You're going to get I am going to make sure you are looked after. And they never even ask then, by the time you've got all that up front and in your presentation, they aren't even going to ask how many people you actually have on staff, because that's not their question. Their question was, can you support me? And so, you again, the other thing you're leading with, hey, you might want to know how we can do this 24/7 maintain. We have these tools, okay? We have these automated tools that are monitoring your system, and they can fix it, they can self-heal and everything else. So even while I'm sleeping and my guys, so it's always even while we are sleeping and we are there, it's always going on, because this machine can take the place of one tech can look after 250 machines instead of 20 machines, because most of it's being done by all this automated system. That's all up front as part of your why do business with you, and your presentation before those questions are raised, and they won't get raised.
I think that I had most of that covered. The shock and awe was where I missed that. So that's where I think.
Yeah. That's why you give it to, that's why we tell you to put all those things. The testimonial booklet is in there. All the other things are in there. Your client bill of rights, your guarantees, all those things are in there, because they're all designed to overcome objections before they've even been raised.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, that actually leads into a question I have. With COVID and everything, I had a couple clients. One of them was a library. They're closed at this point indefinitely. So I have the one client. I basically have one good set of testimonials. I'm worried that just having the same thing plastered everywhere is self-defeating. It looks like I don't have anything.
You can get more testimonials, Brian, though. You had a past life. Before you came out of prison and everything else, you had this past life.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. But you get character testimonials from those people. So they can't say your company did this, but, Brian was responsive. Brian's really knowledgeable. Brian's a hard worker. Brian looked after us and everything. That's perfectly fine while you're building up testimonials, yeah?
Good to know.
And I just had a question for Greg. Greg, how many ways do these people have of contacting you if they have a problem that you don't know, but that you don't know about already?
Oh, I mean, they can submit a ticket to the ticket. They can call me. They can text me. They can email. They can get through the website. I mean, there's pretty much anything you think of.
Okay.
What should I make that more apparent?
Well, one of the things Robin always says in the marketing is make sure people know they have 3 ways to respond. Either used to be by fax, by phone, or by web form. Now fax is gone, but yes, make it obvious how to get a hold of you.
Yeah. Okay.
And not that you're telling them because you think there's a problem, but like Mark said, this is a value that we bring to you: easy accessibility.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. Any more questions? Do we have a character questionnaire?
So in other words, like right now for the testimonial, we have a template that has the 4 questions. Hey, do you mind taking time to ask these questions? And then we build from that. Does anything exist to that character? So it's like Brian saying I have 2 accounts that, I'm using the same testimonials all over the place. But the character is another story. I mean, I got.
But it's the same questions. You're just saying, instead of my business, it's, hey, when I did stuff for you before.
Okay. Okay.
Because don't forget, you're just getting the raw answers for you to be able to rewrite it.
Manipulate.
Yeah. So those things apply regardless. Those questions still apply. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, homework for next week is the quarterly lead generation marketing plan, due next Monday by 5 o'clock, so I can review them before we have our call next Tuesday. The link is in there to watch the tutorial that I did with a member a while ago, using your 12-month custom marketing plan as well, to give you some ideas of what you're doing and what you have been doing. and then follow the link to do the recording and start filling in your 12-month marketing plan for, we'll do the rest of Q2. So you've got May and June to do, so it's not a full quarter, but do Q2. Okay, and post it in here and I will review all those things.
I've got one unrelated question.
Yes, Jim.
The essay for the 90-day checklist. Where do you find details on that?
It's in the resources tab. There's in 2 places you need to go. One of them is the 30 and 90-day contest. Lost it.
I see 30 and 90-day checklist and implementation contest information. There it is. Okay.
Yeah, open that up, and there's the entry form in there and the instructions, and then further on down you will see the rapid winning essay examples to give you some examples of previous winners essays. Okay. But the contest information is in there, as well as the entry form to sign.
Got it. Awesome.
Okay, in that case, thank you, everybody. Eric, don't forget your online shock and awe and getting it out today. And we will see you all on the call next week.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye everybody.